is your hottest philosophy take?
Uh, I think I actually been doing a lot of research based on a controversial topic,
Hmm.
and it really stems to you are what you listen to. Like in regards to like music. I think that's the number one uh most influential thing on an individual's life is music. I don't think there's anything more influential on a human being than music.
So this position, I would tend to agree if it is the case that the only things that you listen to are things that would tend to encourage the beliefs that you already have. So, for instance, if I'm a conservative and um, I consume conservative media, and then I listen to a debate between a leftist and like a Marxist. Do you think that either of their arguments are going to influence me in any kind of significant way?
If you consume, if you're saying that you consume one media way more than the other,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it'd be pretty hard to convince otherwise, unless you're open. Well, a lot of people aren't really open. But I was leaning more, not even like, in regards to politics, but just like, music in general. Like, people that predominantly listen to like goth music or emo music or rock and roll or rap or Mozart. I
Hmm.
think like when you really think about it, because I'll just kind of give you where what the conversation was. So we were talking about is rap music detrimental, and what I was kind of trying to explain to people that everybody listens to tons of different music, right? Like I'm sure you have. I'm pretty sure you've heard some rap songs before, right? I know you probably heard some R&B songs, some country music,
Hmm.
but the music that really influences who you are is the music you listen to and right? Like I can say that I know some country artists, but that's not the music that I refuse to skip,
Hmm.
And if you if you if you never ever listen to any of your favorite songs that you rarely skip, would you be the same person?
Well, that's a counterfactual. You can't rerun history, uh, like so that you listen to different music. It's indeterminable.
Well, I agree, but you know, it's kind of a, not necessarily saying there's like any basis behind it, but it's kind of a funny question, right? Like if you really
Well,
think about it.
if you look at my background, what like assuming that I interact with the things in my background, what kind of music would you guess that I listen to?
uh I'd say you're pretty diverse. Maybe some pop, maybe some classical music. Um, yeah, I'd have to say, I think you're pretty diverse.
I listen almost exclusively to metalcore music.
Metalcore music, huh?
Yeah.
Like when you work out and stuff, like that's typically what you listen to, when you're feeling good, when you're feeling bad, on the
Yes.
way to work. Do you typically go to like concerts and stuff like that?
Yep.
Okay, let me ask you this. So, what would you say your least favorite music is?
I don't even know. Probably
What
K-pop.
about what about yeah, like you ever heard of drill music?
No.
Okay, so there's something called drill music, right? And the culture behind drill music is something to where, you know, you kind of get as many people as you can,
Hmm.
and you grab like weapons and stuff like that, and you know, you jump around in the music video, and it's real aggressive music, right? So when you really look at that, and then you look at what it produces, you got to think like those people, they're not people that just listen to it, right? They're indulged in that culture. That's their favorite music. That's the music they refuse to skip. And I'm
Hmm.
sure when you go out like on the weekends and stuff like that, or when you're doing your own thing, you know, for pleasure, I'm pretty sure you typically find yourselves at places to where, you know, they're typically going to play that metalcore music, right? Like you wouldn't go to like a Mexican bar or something like that, or you know, a country bar. You may, but you're probably going to go to those places to where you're going to hear that music that makes you feel good, and that's going to bring around other people that, you know, that same music makes them feel good, and you subconsciously pick up I guess a certain type of living style,
No, I don't.
you know, to,
I don't really go out much. I tend to create the places that play this type of music. So like my car, my bedroom.
okay, fair enough, fair enough. So to somebody that, you know, does like to go out and stuff like that, you would, it's fair to say you would think they would want to put themselves in those predicaments to be open to hear that stuff, which in a sense, you know, I'm not saying that music makes you who you are, but I think overexposure to something over time, you subconsciously start to align yourself with what you're familiar with. You know, like if you're married, you know how spouses kind of start acting like each other. Best friends finish their sentences, they start acting like each other.
Hmm.
Children act like their parents subconsciously. So, music is one of those things that you always have it, right? You
Well,
always have music.
does this only apply to music or does it apply to like written media or like I don't know, like food?
I mean, I guess food in a way, but you know, even when you're not eating, you got music.
What?
You know, like I basically I'm just kind of saying like the amount of time throughout our lives that we expose ourselves to music, that we subconsciously pick what we listen to. It's thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of voluntarily selecting certain things that we want to hear that make us feel good. So I just kind of feel like over time, constantly hearing those things, it has to have some type of effect on a person,
Well,
you know?
that comes with the assumption that people are only listening to music to make themselves feel good.
Well, I mean, even like at you know, funerals and stuff like that. You know, if you have a bad breakup, you know, a lot of people typically will listen to music to, you know, kind of validate their feelings. You know, that's why you got heartbreak music, you know, that's popular.
Well, I like metalcore music because I like the heavy drums and the riffs, the guitar riffs. Not because it makes me feel any certain type of way. And I like listening to unclean vocals.
What do you think in your life shaped you to where you perceive that experience as something that you like as opposed to like Taylor Swift or something like that, though?
I have no idea.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, it's just
I
we
think
were having a conversation.
I think it's probably similar to how your taste buds develop. Like I like Italian food, but there's nothing in my past that I could point to that would lead me to conclude, yes, that's why I like Italian food. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, Hold on. How are you? Yeah, I think that one kind of went over my head there.
So like when it comes to looking at the things that we enjoy, um, I don't think there's really anything that you can point to in your past that is the ultimate determinant of what you actually like.
Well, so even I do agree with you. I agree with you. But I think more or less of what I'm kind of saying is it doesn't have to, necessarily be something that you like. I mean, it could even be, bad things, that listening to certain things over and over subconsciously, shape your brain to think maybe certain things that aren't good are good. Because a perfect example, the I'll tell you exactly where we were at, right? And it's hard to really even put yourself in these people's shoes, right? So there's people that, like I said, they rap about committing crimes and stuff like that. And even certain rock stars, they make music about a life of, rugs and crazy parties and stuff like that. Now, some of us can hear that music and separate ourselves from it, but when it comes to people that are like hardcore stands, where they listen to that same stuff over and over and over again, it kind of shapes who those people are in a sense.
Mm.
Maybe not for everybody, and it maybe affects other people differently, but there's just like I said, there's just certain music that I can hear and turn off in 2 seconds, right? Because it doesn't even register to me. But on the flip side, there's millions and millions of other people that absolutely love that music. And I don't know. Okay, so here's another kind of way to connect it together, right? Are you, and I don't want to get into religion, but are you religious or not?
No.
Okay, so this is a perfect example, right? So, me as a Christian, right?
Hmm.
If I play a gospel song and I'm listening to those lyrics, they're literally a fairy tale to you, right? They're when we're praising God and stuff in our songs, it's almost like a fairy tale, like it doesn't register to you, which makes you live a completely different lifestyle than me as a Christian lives. Because when I hear those words, it's not just music, it's like instructions to my life, and the way I interpret those words in gospel kind of
Well, I can
is a
listen.
reflection on me.
I can listen to Francesca Battistelli or for King and Country or listen to Toby Mac because they sound good, not because I believe the things that they're saying.
So, hey, are those gospel
Well,
people?
they're Christian singers.
And when you hear the lyrics, it's kind of just like, maybe the tone's nice, but the message, it doesn't register, it doesn't resonate with you.
Not
Like,
necessarily, no.
worship God, and God's coming back, He's our Savior. Like, it may sound nice, but the words are kind of empty to you.
So, would you suggest that people largely avoid reading books that they don't agree with? Because I don't do that either. Like I have Das Kapital on my bookshelf, but I'm not a Marxist.
Well, I wouldn't, I think it's good to read books even if you don't agree with them, kind of just to get different perspectives.
Hmm.
But then again, even when it comes to reading, if you could read a lot of music, well, I guess maybe not for everybody, but majority people, I think, listen to more music than they read.
Well, most people don't read that much these days. But for the people
I
that
agree.
do, I would argue that like the people that read generally are I don't want to say intelligent enough, but for lack of a better term, I'll use that. I think that most people who read extensively nowadays are intelligent enough to recognize that their perspective isn't the only one that is substantiated or has been posited throughout history. I don't read Das Kapital to get a different perspective. I get Das Kapital to understand what people believe and what people think.
Which is fair, which is very fair, and I agree with you. You'd be surprised how many people you talk to and you ask them, "Hey, do you think whatever you think is true?" And people think that, their perspectives are true.
Well, that's called infallibilism. If I were to ask you, do you think that it's possible that any single one of the beliefs that you hold is false? What would you say?
Absolutely.
Okay, which one?
Uh, I mean, honestly, there's probably quite a few.
But
You
you
know,
could,
I,
but you couldn't point to a specific one, right?
right. Yeah, I
Right.
don't think I could point to one.
So you're a fallibilist. An infallibilist would say, no, I don't think there are any things that I believe that are untrue.
Which is kind of unreasonable.
I mean, not necessarily. If they've worked through all of their beliefs to a substantial degree and they arrive at the same conclusion that they held previously, then I think it's okay to hold that position.
But don't you think if one person thinks everything that they think is true, technically what everybody else thinks is true as well, if we're being logically consistent?
Well, I mean, there's not even any way to reliably determine that other minds exist.
Very true. That is
So,
a, yeah, yeah.
so I mean, it's reasonable to assume that all of your beliefs are accurate.
That's a slippery slope there. But I see what you mean. I mean, yeah, it's very hard to argue against. It is very hard to argue against.
Yeah, but you are what you listen to. I think it has a nice ring to it, but I don't necessarily know that it applies in every case because I listen to metalcore music almost exclusively, and yet I have no self-unaliving ideations. I don't experience hopelessness, which is two themes that are pretty commonly expressed in that type of music. So I will rate this. So the categories are mild, uh, medium, spicy, or hot, spicy, and Indian spicy. I will rate this mild, just because it doesn't seem to apply in every case.